This next series in our Welcome to the Expedition Through the Knowledge Metaverse from EON Reality. I'm Jamie Justice. I'm Director of Education US and Global Innovation with EON Reality. And with me today are Rena Walsinger, who is our Chief Learning Officer at EON Reality, and Megan Blevins, who is Director of Customer Success. And we've been doing several of these now, and this is maybe our sixth in this series on just looking at different ways that virtual technologies and in a sense, what we like to call the knowledge metaverse can revolutionize the way that people teach and learn and experience reality through virtual reality, augmented reality, and the whole mix of opportunities that are there. Today, we're going to focus on some new product line that's coming out from Eon in the near future, which is in the use of an AI assistant. And I'm going to let Rena and Megan talk about that a little bit more in detail and share with you what their thoughts are and what we see coming in the future here at Eon Reality. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Rena or Megan, to kick it off and tell us a little bit about where we're heading with this AI thing, artificial intelligence, and let's begin with that. So Rena.
All right. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Megan. Nice to be here in the podcast. Welcome, everybody. So excited today to talk about something that I think is pretty Star Trek-like, EON AI Assistant. And why do I say that? So I spent my life since many decades ago in the 60s growing up in my house watching Star Trek. In fact, my sister, Dr. Heather Joseph Witham from Mythbusters, the whole PhD that was kind of based on Star Trek and subcultures and wrote some books and stuff. And so it's actually a big part of my life. And the way I think about it is, Captain Kirk, when he needed to do something, just asked the computer. And the computer told him what he needed to know, had all the factual information on the ship, about the enemies, all kinds of things. And without the computer, they would be toast. So it's a different age. AI is artificial intelligence is changing the nature of a lot of things, including education, pretty quickly. It's something that's kind of it's happening faster than even like the development of the internet. So we're going to talk a little bit about today on what we think it's going to do for education and helping people to use new technologies in education. So it's my little introduction. And Megan, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, thank you, Rena. Thank you, Jamie, for having me. Excited to talk about the AI assistant today. And when, Rena, you're describing how you're talking about Star Trek, I think for myself personally, I think of Cortana from Halo. So when we're thinking about that artificial intelligence or that kind of, I need help with something right now. I want something to help me create. I want something to help me describe or to think about things in maybe a little bit different way. That's kind of the image in my mind that I get. It's my helper bot, if you will, that's going to help me get my mission accomplished. So pretty exciting stuff.
My girls don't play Halo. We watch Star Trek.
Boys. My boys play Halo.
There you go. So I think with that, I want to talk about one of the biggest challenges in education technology is just, faculty are busy. We don't really have time. Megan and I and Jamie are all teachers. We don't have time to kind of do extra things, even though we're interested a lot of times. And honestly, I'll tell you, working on the corporate side, you do have time to spend all night doing homework and learning new things. But when you're a teacher, you're grading and you're getting ready for those next lesson delivery. And it's kind of like a 24/7 thought process. And so, I totally understand that. We all understand that. But this is like a big sea change with the AI. And why is that? Because with AI, all you need to really do is think about your learning outcomes. What is that thing that you want to do with your learning outcomes to make it easier for students to learn and more engaging? With the AI assistant now, just like I said, like Star Trek, once you decide on that visual content, I'm just going to give you a random example. Like I want to learn about ancient Greece. So the AI will search for content about ancient Greece, bring up a model that could even be an environment or as far as Greece, it could be a stage or something, and then bring up content around that model. Now, as a teacher, you can go back and edit that. You can even delete it, but at least within a few seconds, really, you have something tangible, that's an experience that you can share with your students. So I think that change is giant. I can't stress that enough. When I've shown it to people all over, I've shown it all over the world already in the last couple of weeks, and I think we're all kind of surprised how good it is, how fast it is, and how it selects relevant content. And so it's I've tonight, in fact, I'm going to be going to a famous stadium called SoFi here in California, and I'm going to be anchoring an experience that the AI is going to create in front of that stadium around football. So it's a new world with AI. So with that, let me pass it to Megan. What do you think about your initial thoughts about AI?
Yeah, I think the most exciting part of AI, from looking at the lens of time, right? Just plain time. And then also quality. So there are some times where I might sit down as an instructional designer and create something that I think is really great, and then realize that I missed potentially some key concepts that I could have added in. My list was incomplete to begin. So I think when we're talking about AI, there's that it's your human element is still very present. You're still indicating, like, I'm going to go to SoFi Stadium. I want this to be about football. I want to have these characteristics and this content. But then AI goes and takes some of that human imperfection element out and says, okay, here are all the things. And again, within seconds, here are all the things that I came up with as the AI that you can then kind of sort through and look at and decide, is this the content, right? Putting on that professional educator hat again. Is this the content that I want to be presenting forward? I like these pieces. Maybe I don't like these pieces. And you can just quickly move things about and make modifications to really level up the experience that you're creating. So it saves time and it helps improve overall. Is it all the pieces that you wanted? Or is it going to be just most of the pieces you wanted, and maybe you forgot a piece? So again, taking some of that human imperfection element out of it and combining it with the human element, so the AI and the human element together to really, like I said, level up the experience.
And I think that it can't be overstated, the time savings, because that is everybody's number one problem as a faculty, especially full-time faculty, or even part-time freeway flyers, as we call them here in California, people who go work at many colleges to piece up their schedule, like I've done in the past. And time is a problem. This is an incredible time savings, and I just think that in itself is worth a lot. I was on a project for a national project in the U.S. on, it was called Credential Engine. It's a big, giant database, and they used AI to search college catalogs for all kinds of relevant content related to credentials. Can you imagine doing that database from scratch by hand? I mean, it wouldn't happen. And it took this age of machine learning language and AI to work together to do those types of tasks. And those would have been done by faculty and staff. And now we have this massive countrywide database around credentials and industry skills and things called the Credential Engine. This reminds me of that. If I want to do a lesson on chemistry and I get down to like, oh, today we're going to learn the difference between chemical A and chemical B, I can ask the AI assistant, what's the difference between water and sodium chloride? It can bring up the models that you can interact with, give information about the discovery of those or how they're made up. So again, it depends on your learning outcomes. And that's our job as faculty, is what is that learning outcome that you're trying to do? Are you making chemicals? Are you understanding the bonds? Are you comparing two different things? Are you working on the periodic table? There could be a million different things. So honing in on what that experience is, because that will bring up the correct content. As long as you tell the AI or even type in the specific thing that you're interested in, then the content will be more focused. Jamie, I know you're here to, what do you think?
I'm listening and learning maybe a little bit for my part, but the thing that you just said that just really struck a chord with me was just how fast, just by using a quick voice command, that you can find so much content. that you can choose from. Like Megan said, where you can mix it and match it and add to it and release. And you always, I know everything I ever build, I think I've got all this is what I want, but then I realize I forgot step two. But now if I have something that lets me go back and lay it all out, it just helps me visually and accurately, build something unique and different that in a way that I've never done before. And so I think this is a very exciting and powerful time and tool to bring into your teaching and learning process.
I have a question for Megan. What if you can train the AIs to do things? For example, I can train it on what's all the parts for this airplane and how do you repair an engine for this airplane? What if we trained it, and it might have even already happened, around the principles around instructional design, so you can ask questions in a different way? What do you think about that?
I think that would be a really fun way to get unique answers, right? The things that aren't going to have necessarily maybe my personal bias. If I have created, I'm used to creating this kind of thing. And now you ask an AI after you've trained it, and now it can kind of impartially go through and say, oh no, actually, maybe this is a more unique or different, or this way is what I've, like you said, when you train the AI, you're telling it all of the things, right, that you're giving it the content bounding box. And so once I've given it the content bounding box, then my personal bias has to step back because it has all of the details from A to Z, right? It's like, I can't look at the list and then just pick the things that I like the best or leave off the things that I don't like, but instead all of the items are gonna kind of come through. And I think that idea of training an AI as far as what content is supposed to be presented can be one of those things that sounds a little bit daunting or even a little bit maybe a little unsettling at first. AI in general, I think, can sometimes get that unsettling kind of feeling, like is the robot smarter than me kind of a thing. But there have been such incredible advancements in the language models that are being used for training artificial intelligence. I've been kind of blown away by what is capable of being created and being put together, and then how we can then turn around and utilize that on a day-to-day basis. So I'm thinking of something from any subject area, right? So basically I'm going to take all of the content of my textbook, because I have one sitting here in front of me, right? So I'm going to take all that content from that textbook and I'm going to feed it into the AI. I'm going to give it all of that information. And now I can then create an experience where my students can go ask the AI whatever they want to go ask the AI about. It's kind of almost like, you can almost think of it like creating your own Google for your classroom. So you can utilize, once you've kind of created, you can then utilize in a lot of different ways. So it's not question and answer. I think when we talk about the AI assistant is kind of one of the first things that we come to think about, but there's more that you can do beyond just that Q&A of the AI.
It reminds me of my problem in learning growing up. So I had a pretty easy time until I went to study bioengineering, and here's why. So I can do math problems, not worry about what it means. I can write in English, I can do all these things, I can figure out physics. But then my questions in college were like, okay, the space shuttle's taking off. How long is that going to take? How much gas? How many orbits? And I'm like, what is that? What even subject am I in right now? Just these big questions, It's like a picture of the space shuttle taking off, and then there's a bunch of questions. I'm like, I'm lost. So how to learn and how to relate things to each other, that could make a big difference in knowledge transfer for students, where you can say, okay, I've learned higher order calculus, I've learned all this physics, I've learned chemistry. Now let's solve a problem. And that's where, for me, honestly, I didn't make that connection until maybe my fourth year of college, of all of those subjects and solving problems. So when I went to take a test, I was always like, I have no idea what these answers are, because they're not the straightforward linear answers I was used to up until that point, where I just cruised through, doing simple equations, whatever. And now it's like, oh, I need to put that together, and I don't know how to do that. So I wonder if having your avatar, you can ask that artificial intelligence better questions around problems and then understand the answers, because we don't get that. For me, I didn't get that before I got tested on it. So it was like a epic, like, very difficult time for me to figure that out. And I don't think
with the stress and the lights and everything.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
two things that struck a chord with me on what we were just talking about. One was that as an innovator, you ask a lot of questions. You ask why, when, well, why, and then once you get enough of that, you ask why again, and then you keep asking why, how, where, whatever. But it's all about asking questions. And then you talked earlier when we started about Captain Kirk, and that was my time frame too. Would say, computer, tell us, and you had, we've got, well, remember back even to what was the Kit in the I don't remember the name of the show now, but for the talking car had the great voice. But
Oh
anyway,
yeah.
he would ask Kit a question, and you always had the monotone computer generated type voice. So now AI is different. In our experience, what I'm seeing that makes it so exciting is that I don't just ask computer, I ask my avatar. And now I have an avatar who's talking to me, and I'm actually having a conversation with someone, even though that other person I'm talking to is virtual. But that person is a conduit to all this world of knowledge that AI can search for me, and I can do it within a contextualized way, which may help me be more engaged and more excited about what I'm going to learn from it. So I think the whole visual cue of AI also mixed with just this research topics and the ability to ask questions, that you're not just talking to a screen or a traditional AI voice or computer generated voice, let's say, rather than an AI voice, makes it more engaging and more exciting to be part of that in this environment, which may also be another extra element to the multi-intelligence of learners, that we add another piece of that part into the process to make it more engaging experience for them. So that's something I pulled away from the last two comments that you made.
That's really interesting. And it makes me think about my favorite topic, food. So let's say, sometimes I ask, oh, what are you looking for a model on food? So it might make you focus better on this whole thing. So what do you need to do about food? Are you cooking food? Are you buying the ingredients? Are you studying to be a nutritionist, creating menus? I mean, there's so many different things about food. Are you solving a food shortage issue? Food scarcity, which our students experience as well. And so there's so many important topics around food, but that's the thing I think that it might help to focus on, like, what is that question you need to ask? Or maybe you need to ask several questions to get to your question and then create this experience. And I think with the talking with the AI, I actually think that's where we're going to evolve to, that we actually get down to what is it we're trying to solve. And I think when we start doing AI if you're especially new at it, it's like, no, I just want to talk about food. But you really need to focus in, and you need to get to question number 5 before you create an experience around it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or the experience and just thinking about, kind of as Jamie was saying, where we're talking about, and Rena, you as well. So we're talking, we're clarifying. The AI it's a face, it's a voice, it's still a computer, but it is a face and a voice. And I think that opens itself up to some pretty interesting experiences that you can create around topics that might be triggering for people. They might be things that people don't want to talk to another person about. They want to understand more, they want to learn more, but the topic is kind of delicate, or the topic is kind of hard, or it's kind of scary. It's one of those that you would much rather have that distance between yourself and another human to learn more about things. So I think especially if we talk about topics that I'm just going to say triggering, because that's going to be a little bit different for everybody. But those kinds of topics, you can absolutely use the AI to create experiences to make those kinds of learning experiences more comfortable, more engaging, more ones that people are more likely to enter into.
Right.
What do you both think about I want to address kind of trepidation around AI. It's new for education. I mean, it's been around longer in enterprise and companies, and for faculty, I think it's a pretty new concept. And I know AI is a big buzzword in every school. I mean, we all do keynotes around it, a lot. But I kind of feel like it's one of those things that's hard to implement in a school because it's new. Most people haven't worked in AI as far as being a professor, and so maybe it's one of those things that might be I don't know. I just don't know the speed of kind of implementing not EON, but just AI in general in the courses. Now, I can say this is it's using EON as an easy way to implement AI as far as working with it integrated AI products. Because as a professor, you don't need to code. You don't need to be a Python coder, for example, and do that integration. We've already integrated the APIs with those in the products. You can go and interact with the different AIs in the product. So for me, when I'm doing a talk with folks around AI, that's something that I've realized is really helpful because you're not going to go back and study how to create AIs, and they've been working on that for 25 years. But being an end user is a much easier way to, I think, bring it into an education environment.
Yeah. And I think not being afraid as an educator to utilize AI and to realize that it's already in our world, whether we acknowledge it as being there or not. I think of, I'm on a website because I'm trying to order something for Christmas, and a little widget pops up on the bottom of my browser and says, "How can I help you?" That's an AI. It's not a scary, like, AI doesn't have to be scary. That's what it is. It's just there to be helpful. And maybe you're on a software like EON, and you're trying to utilize it and you can't quite figure it out, or something isn't quite making sense, and that live chat window pops open. That's AI. Google is AI. There's a lot of I think, like you were saying, there's some trepidation, but I think if we recognize that AI is already around us, and the ways in which we have it, the Siri on the iPhone is another form of an AI. It's helping you to do something. So I think just keeping the focus on the AI is there to be helpful. And if you're really curious, if you start to Google for yourself, or get into YouTube's that watching the development of these AI tools, if you do have trepidation around AI, can really help open eyes into things like, how do we make sure machines don't take over the world, right? How do we make sure that the things that are being responded to by the AI are truthful, that they are things that aren't going to harm other people, that they're like, did you know that there's an entire set of rules that get written into some of those big language models, where we're telling the AI how to respond, understanding that it is a computer, that it's just searching through information and synthesizing it and spitting it back out again. So I think that, again, it's already around us, kind of like augmented reality. I was looking for a bed for my son's room, and Amazon asked me if I wanted to open up my phone and project it in my room to make sure it fit. Right?
Wow.
That all of those are technologies that are starting to infuse our day-to-day life, and so they don't have to be scary.
Right.
It reminds me of the Terminator. So we don't want to be Skynet. And
right.
I'm a Terminator nerd. I've seen all the movies. Linda Hamilton rocks. So one of my female heroes. I love female action hero people. So Linda Hamilton, who my husband met because she was on his flight. So Skynet was one of those areas where they didn't have the proper framework, and so the AI went beyond what it's supposed to do. These are very, and that's a good research topic for any of you students out there. The frameworks that are built around these AIs are fascinating and very, very diligent and really good. So that's something you should look into. It can't make decisions, and it really limits any information that's bad. So it's very robust on that framework. But before we end, which is going to be pretty soon, I wanted to talk about, especially with Jamie, around that artistic element of the AI. So I love Instagram, IG. See, I have girls that are on IG all day. So I see people posting cool art on there. And I love Disney. I live 15 minutes from Disneyland. And they're posting boy first seeing Galaxy's Edge for the first time, and Grogu shows up. And then they have a beautiful art piece. And it has gone viral already. I mean, it literally just came out, and it's already all over the place. People are making art all day long. It's art and also music. And so, and I also talked with a bunch of graphic arts professors, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well our job ended because now you don't have to hire us because you can just make your own stuff, and it's yours." And then there you go. So,
Yep.
I want to get Jamie's comments on that because you're so artistic.
Well, kind of the same thinking that you just gave. I played with an app the other day that I wanted to create a new album cover for a project I'm working on, and I did it through AI, and it was really cool. And I had it in just a few minutes, so I didn't have to spend a lot of time, getting ready to do something that I might release. I just wanted to, do the whole package and play with it. So that's so many ways that we can use it, and it brings a tremendous amount of power to your fingertips, essentially, as a cliche way to say it, that we never had before. And where I've often talked about, since prior to 2020, the whole thing virtualization was a lot of random acts of progress, but now you can actually do all these things, and AI's time is here faster than virtual reality's time was, and blending those two together is going to speed up the growth of the industry, I think, in a tremendous way. And I think it's going to also be able to have a very large impact on the way that we teach and we learn, train, and perform, which is one of our mantras here at EON. So it really is an exciting time. And so we're coming up on about 26 minutes. So I think we're near the end of our time for this cast. I do want to bring your attention to a couple of things. One, if you visit the EON Reality YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and check for it. We're throwing up some videos as we speak that shows what this can look like in the augmented world, in the virtual world. And also, you can learn more at eonreality.com. And we thank you for being with us. Hopefully, we've shared some good insights and have you thinking about what can be and what will be, and that you're ready to embrace AI for the future in the way that you do your teaching and learning processing wherever you are, wherever you may be. Any final comments from you, Megan or Rena? Thank you both for being here with us again today.
Yeah, I'm excited that Megan's here to join the crew and joining us in this whole virtual world. And I love doing this podcast, especially with y'all who are educators. And I hope this reaches our fellow colleagues, and that you start thinking about AI. Be excited to talk to anybody about about our thoughts, and really stay, like James said, stay tuned to our YouTube channel and our website, because things are changing pretty quick. As we add these AIs into our app, you'll see a bunch of new content and new ideas, new ways of transferring knowledge. So stay tuned.
Great. Thank you all for being here. Megan, Rena, thank you. Had fun. We're looking forward to it again. We'll get our old buddy John back, hopefully safely home from Peru.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to do this again soon. So we will see you the next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.